Hi, today I'm going to be showing you how to build a computer. First, I would like to show you the crucial parts of the computer. Number one, the most important part is the motherboard. The motherboard is important because you need it in order for everything to operate. Because of all the ports it has, each port serves a specific purpose. This is the CPU. This is the brains of the computer. Without it, you cannot run the computer at all. This is a heatsink. This is what prevents the CPU from overheating, because once it overheats, that is bad news for your computer. This is the RAM. This is what keeps memory for the computer. The most top type of RAM you should have is at least 4 gigabytes. Or if you're a hardcore gaming nerd like me, 8 gigabytes. And lastly, the GPU. This is what shows the graphics on the computer screen. You really need it if you want to see what's going on. Now let's get started. I'm going to show you where the motherboard goes. Alright, when you want to put the motherboard in, be very careful as it is very delicate. You have to line it up just right when you put it down and then set it down on the back part of the tower. As you can see here, I screwed the motherboard in place on the backboard. And then now it's time to install the CPU. Alright, the CPU, you got to be really careful when you put it in. For one thing, most of them come with little prongs on them, and if you put them in the wrong way, you can snap those prongs and say goodbye to that CPU. But luckily, this one's a flat one, so it's all good. Alright, when you put in the CPU, you'll see a little arrow in the corner. And then on the motherboard, there is a tiny little arrow that indicates where this arrow should be pointing. So when you put in the CPU, you close this lid, you lift this latch, and then you reclose the latch and then lock it in place. Alright, now after you put the CPU into the motherboard, you're going to want to apply the heatsink. But before that, you're going to want to apply thermal paste on the copper part of the heatsink. Since this is a practice PC, I don't really need to add the thermal paste, but if you want to get one that you're going to use, I recommend that you add the thermal paste. So when you put the heatsink down, make sure it lines up over the CPU, like so. Alright, next is the RAM. Like I said earlier, this is crucial because this is what helps make the computer run fast. Alright, when you put it in, you're going to want to push these little side clamps away from the port. And then you put it in, but don't force it in, otherwise you can risk breaking the motherboard. But do it just right. Alright, lastly is the GPU. Now when you install it, like the RAM, you do not want to force it into the ports, otherwise you'll risk breaking the little connectors on the GPU or risk cracking the motherboard. So when you put this in, the long piece goes towards the bottom. And then you push it in, put it in. There. Alright, now that we got everything plugged in, it's time to plug in the cables. First, you're going to want to plug in the cables for the GPU. And then lastly, the cables for the power supply. And then there's other cables you plug in, but those are for the HDD, the CD player, or interior audio. Well, thank you for watching. My name's Chris. Have a great day.